Hello, everyone. Welcome to the course of Water Pollution Control Technology. I am your lecturer Lu Xiaoneng. Today, we learn about water pollution control regulations and standards. First, important laws and regulations for water-saving pollution control. China's environmental law system is divided into Constitution, Basic Law of Environmental Protection, international treaties, separate laws on environmental protection, administrative regulations on environmental protection, partial regulations on environmental protection, local administrative regulations on environmental protection, and other environmental normative documents, a total of 8 levels. The Constitution stipulates that the state should rationally develop and utilize natural resources, basic rights and obligations in protecting natural resources and improving the environment, basic principles of guidelines and policies. Environmental Protection Law of the People's Republic of China, officially implemented in 1989. It is the basic law of environmental protection in China. In terms of water environment protection, the state has promulgated a series of laws and policies on water pollution control, such as the Marine Environmental Protection Law of the People's Republic of China, Law of the People's Republic of China on Water Pollution Prevention and Control, and the Technical Policy of Urban Sewage Treatment and Pollution Prevention and Control, Technical Policy of Wastewater Prevention and Control in Straw Pulp and Paper Industry, Technical Policies for Prevention and Control of Lake and Reservoir Nutrition, etc. Section 2. Sewage Treatment Process. First, the Environmental Quality Standard of Surface Water. The Surface Water Environmental Quality Standard includes 109 items. Among them, there are 24 basic items, 5 supplementary projects for surface water sources of centralized drinking water, 80 specific projects. The standard is based on the environmental function and protection goal of surface waters. The surface water area is divided into 5 categories. The first category is mainly applicable to source water and national nature reserves. The second class is mainly suitable for the first-class protection zone of centralized drinking water sources, precious fish reserves, fish and shrimp spawning beds, etc. The third category is mainly suitable for the second-level protection zone of centralized domestic drinking water sources, general fish reserves and swimming areas. The 4 categories are mainly suitable for general industrial water use areas, and recreational water areas that are not in direct contact with human body. The 5 categories are mainly suitable for agricultural water use areas, that is, water areas with general landscape requirements. When the same water area has multiple use functions, execute the standard value corresponding to the highest function category. Section 3. Pollutant Discharge Standards. China has issued 58 water pollutant discharge standards. Among them, there are Integrated Sewage Discharge Standards, Pollutant Discharge Standard of Urban Sewage Treatment Plant, General Emission Standards of. There are also industry standards such as Water Pollution Discharge Standards for paper industry. The first Integrated Sewage Discharge Standard. It is suitable for the discharge management of water pollutants in existing sewage disposal units, and the environmental impact assessment of construction projects, completion acceptance and emission management after putting into production. However, for river discharge units that have promulgated industrial pollutant discharge standards, industry pollutant discharge standards should be implemented. For example, enterprises in papermaking, textile, printing and dyeing industries. The Comprehensive Sewage Discharge Standard is no longer implemented in the river discharge. According to the Direction of Sewage Discharge, Comprehensive Sewage Discharge Standard is divided into years. The maximum allowable discharge concentration of 6 kinds of water pollution is stipulated, that is, the maximum allowable displacement of some industries. According to the standard, the properties and control methods of pollutants discharged are divided into 2 categories. Class 1 pollutants refer to total mercury, alkyl mercury, total chromium, hexavalent chromium, total nickel, benzopyrene, total beryllium, total silver, total alpha radioactivity, and toxic substances with high radioactivity and long-term impact. Wastewater containing such pollutants, regardless of industry and sewage discharge mode, nor does it distinguish the functional classification of the receiving water body. All samples shall be taken at the discharge port of the workshop or workshop treatment facilities. The maximum allowable emission concentration must meet the emission requirements. The second category of pollutants refers to pH value, chromaticity and suspended solids, BOD, cod, petroleum, etc. Such pollutants are sampled at the discharge port of the sewage disposal unit. The maximum allowable emission concentration must meet the standard requirements. Comprehensive Sewage Discharge Standard and Surface Water Environmental Quality Standard, and Seawater Quality Standards are interrelated. Three types of water areas discharged into the Environmental Quality Standard of surface water, and sewage discharged into Class 2C areas of Seawater Quality Standards. Implement the First Class Standard, discharged into 4 and 5 types of waters in the Environmental Quality Standard of surface water, and sewage discharged into Class 3C areas of Seawater Quality Standards. Implement Secondary Standards, sewage discharged into urban drainage system with secondary sewage treatment plant. Implement the Third Level Standard, sewage discharged into urban drainage system without secondary sewage treatment plant, according to the functional requirements of the outlet water receiving area of the drainage system. Implement Level 1 and Level 2 standards respectively. Class 1 and Class 2 waters in surface water environmental quality standards, and protected areas designated in 3 types of waters, and it is forbidden to build new sewage outlets in Class 1C areas in seawater quality standards. 2. Urban Sewage Treatment Plant Pollutant Emission Standard Classification. According to the environmental function and protection goal of urban sewage treatment plant discharged into surface waters, and the treatment process of sewage treatment plant, conventional pollutant standards for basic control items, it is divided into first-class standards, second-class standards and third-class. The first-class standard is divided into A standard and B standard. A class of heavy metal sewage pollutants and selection control items are not classified. The A standard of the first-class standard is the urban sewage treatment plant. Basic requirements of effluent as reuse water. When the water from sewage treatment plant is introduced into rivers and lakes with small dilution function, when used as urban landscape water and general reuse water, etc. Implement the A standard of the first-class standard. When the effluent of urban sewage treatment plant is discharged into 3 functional waters of surface water, seawater functional waters and closed or semi-closed waters such as lakes and reservoirs, implement the B standard of the first-class standard. When the effluent from the urban sewage treatment plant is discharged to, when there are 4 or 5 functional waters of surface water or 3 or 4 functional waters of seawater, implement secondary standards. 3. Industry pollutant emission standards. There are many categories of industrial production, different production processes and great differences in industries. In order to aim at the production process, pollution production and sewage discharge of specific industries, and pollution control technology, China has also promulgated pollutant emission standards for many industries. For example, water pollution emission standards for leather and fur processing industries, emission standard of tin, antimony and mercury industrial pollutants, emission standard of pollutants in iron ore mining and dressing industry, emission standard of pollutants in coking chemical industry, pollutant emission standard for ferroalloy industry, discharge standard of water pollutants in citric acid industry, discharge standard of water pollution in synthetic ammonia industry, discharge standard of water pollutants in hemp spinning industry, discharge standard of water pollutants in wool spinning industry, discharge standard of water pollutants in textile dyeing and finishing industry, discharge standard of water pollutants in iron and steel industry, Emission standard of pollutants from rubber products industry. Water pollution discharge standard for fermented alcohol and liquor industry. Emission standard of water pollutants in automobile maintenance industry. Discharge standard of water pollutants in phosphate fertilizer industry. Emission standards of pollutants in ceramic industry, etc. Compared with comprehensive emission standards, these industry standards are more targeted. The principle that industry standards are superior to comprehensive emission standards should be adhered to in implementation. That's the end of the lesson. Thank you all.